Hello, and welcome to MagicBox, the show where we bring together all stakeholders in our children's education. I'm Isaac Carmignani. On today's show, we will be interviewing two parents who are involved in their and our children's education. But first, the headlines. The 2014-15 school year promises to be a year like no other as a New York state law goes into effect governing how New York City is to deal with charter schools. We are beginning to see these conversations happen right now. A Sugar Hill-based charter school that is looking to expand was denied public school space in District 6 in Upper Manhattan. Global Community Charter School, a K-8 charter, currently operates in private space on 145th Street and was seeking to expand by moving into public school space in District 6. According to the Department of Education, there was no appropriate space in a DOE-owned building in the district to co-locate the school. Some background to this is that Governor Cuomo announced in April that the city is obligated to find space for charter schools in public facilities, or it could be forced to cover the rent for the schools in a private space. However, the denial of space does not guarantee that a school will receive public funds at all for rent, according to a spokesman for the mayor's office, as reported by DNA Info. It's not an automatic trigger, the spokesman said. An appeals process determines whether or not they will receive funding. However, if an appeal is filed, it will mark the first time a school has undergone this appeals process since the governor's announcement. Stay tuned. The New York Times reports that Mayor de Blasio's administration has approved space for 4 charter schools to open or expand in the next year. The list of approved schools includes 2 that are run by Eva Moskowitz. As public advocate, Mr. de Blasio frequently criticized Mayor Bloomberg for giving charter schools, which are privately run but publicly financed, free space in public school buildings over the objections of some parents and teachers. As a mayoral candidate, he called for a moratorium on so-called co-locations until the process for approving such arrangements was improved. The city's education department has not decided which buildings will accommodate the 4 schools. More than 50,000 middle school students, a quarter of the students in New York City's public middle schools, have been left back at least once, and more than 8,500 students have been left back at least 3 times. Despite their significant academic and social-emotional needs, there are fewer than 450 seats in programs for overage middle schools in the city's traditional public and charter schools. Those are some of the findings of a report recently released by Advocates for Children of New York. It is entitled 16 Going on 7th Grade, Overage Students in New York City Middle Schools, and it calls attention to the unique needs of overaged middle schoolers. It also provides the New York City Department of Education with recommendations for improving outcomes for this population. Kim Sweet, Executive Director of Advocates for Children of New York, states that, quote, thousands of these students have been retained repeatedly, but without the additional support they needed to move on to the next grade. They are stuck in limbo until many of them give up and drop out. Researchers have documented that dropout rates are 2 to 11 times higher among previously retained students than their on-track peers. As the DOE focuses long overdue attention on middle schools, we need new strategies to restore educational opportunity for the students struggling repeatedly to meet grade-level standards, end quote. And now for our interview segment where we speak with 2 parents who are very involved in the education of our children, Elzora Cleveland and Deborah Dillingham. So, Elzora and Deborah, welcome to the program this afternoon. Nice to have you. So, I introduced it as that you both are members of the Panel for Educational Policy. Now, without getting into a lot of detail, what is that in New York City? Elzora?
Oh, me. The Panel for Education Policy consists of Mayoral appointees and appointees by the mayor, 8 appointees by the mayor. And we pretty much are advisors to the chancellor.
Okay, Deborah, is it you're a mayoral appointee?
I'm a borough appointee, so there are 5 borough appointees in the group, and we meet once a month, and we go over various educational issues and vote. We listen to the concerns of parents and teachers and staff of various schools throughout the city, and we're there as a listening body as well as a voting body.
Very nice, very nice.
We also have 2 high school students. They don't vote on any of the contracts or issues that need voting on, but they do have a voice at the table as members of the panel.
Interesting. Do those students have to be like in student government in their respective high schools or anything like that to qualify?
We prefer students that are in leadership at their school, but I believe they're selected by the chancellor.
That's nice. And they sit on the dais with you at each meeting.
Right at the table.
And they're allowed to give input throughout the meetings, and I think they've been very helpful, at least for the short tenure that I've been there.
So both of you were involved with community education councils. How did you hear about those to begin with? How did you know that you could do that kind of work?
It was very interesting. I didn't know for a while that the CEC existed. It wasn't until my principal came to me and said, "Hey, Elzora, would love for you to attend a community education council meeting. They're meeting in a few days. You can take your daughter with you. It's allowed," which I was very happy to hear. And she said, basically, it is the next level of parent involvement that would benefit all the children in our district.
Now, these CECs started in 2003, I think, or 2003. They're analogous to the community boards for the general population.
That's correct.
Deborah, how did you find out about
Well,
about
I
this?
actually had to vote in an election. So that's how I found about it, going to the DOE website, learning about the CC from the information that the DOE provided. So that was my first orientation. And then I actually had an issue at the school way back when regarding reconfigurations, and the CECs were responsible for those, and I went to advocate. And once I was there and saw how the CECs worked, I decided, why not? I put my hat in the ring and applied.
Interesting. So there's a lot of information that needs to trickle down to the grassroots, which is the parent. So I guess a question is as parents, but as parents who have been around the block a few times, what needs to be done or what can be done to get parents more involved?
But the word welcoming is really the issue. I think parents have to feel that they're a part of the equation. And when they walk through that door, they're a partner in their children's education. And that's where it starts. And you as a school, every school is different, but you create the atmosphere for your PTA or PA, and that's where it starts.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Parent involvement, parents who want to be involved need to be identified very quickly because, when you bring your child to a new school, you're excited. You're as excited as your child. So to know that there is a place that you actually belong at that school, and I think Deborah and I were talking about that, having that space in your school that you know is identified for your parents is very key. It's an opportunity to meet with other adults. There are many parents that don't get that opportunity to socialize with other adults.
So you're
home with
networking
children.
a little bit,
it's
right?
A lot of
A
opportunity
place to network.
And it's networking about education. And the future of your own child, but children in general. Acquiring that welcome list from parents, and parents should definitely, PTA should reach out to parents and get their information, find out what ways they'd like to be supportive to their school, maybe a survey, that they send out, find out what their skills or expertise are. I'm an accountant, and I've given financial literacy workshops at my daughter's school.
So this is interesting. So bringing your professional understanding to, so there are a lot of parents who can't or may not be able to get involved in advocacy or policy making, but what they're interested in doing is helping their child with their homework, and they're confused by the new math curriculum or the Common Core ELA curriculum, and they want help with that. But there may be parents who are knowledgeable in those fields from their experience helping their children. Are these kinds of things like how do we get all parents involved, being that not all are going to be PTA presidents?
Well, I think you have to talk about access and the ways parents get information. You know, we used to backpack everything out to the parents, but now we're in a digital world.
We kill a lot of trees with backpacking.
And email is the way to go. You know, you're emailing, you're Twittering, you're Instagramming, you're Facebooking. As many avenues as you can go down to reach the parent, that's important. But I would say the main difficulty of your parent organizations within schools getting that information out is they don't have the address of the parent. So unless they have an email address, they can't get a hold of the parent. And school systems often aren't at a level where they're Twittering and Facebooking and such. So there does need to be conversation on how to provide access to parents that maybe is different than it was 10 years ago.
Right.
So, you know, that is an issue today, and I believe it's going to be an issue tomorrow, and what you're going to have to deal with is privacy. And is privacy an email address, or is privacy not asking personal questions to the parent? So it may just be a redirection of the mail system is how we have to look at it.
So we're redefining a lot of things. And then I think about the digital divide. So we could provide all kinds of electronic information in all kinds of languages, but many times schools and children that are having difficulty are on the other side of the digital divide. And so it would seem like we need to think about or have conversations about how to help that along.
Right. I think you take for granted that every child is sitting at home with a laptop and an iPhone. That's just not reality.
No, it's not.
You know, even in a system where we're talking online education, you have to look at the school structure and see if the schools can provide the computers where the child could learn on an online system. So it's all it's a work in progress, I would say.
Wow, yeah.
But again, if you speak to the teachers, a good teacher will tell you they don't need an electronic device to teach. But access is good. We're going the way of smart boards. I think we all know the term smart boards. So smart boards provide great access to students and teachers and parents.
So these are interesting conversations. I was reading the New York Public Library of Manhattan is lending out hotspots like you would a book to try and help with this issue. So there are some creative ideas out there. I gather that all of this is volunteer, whether it's serving on a PTA or an SLT or a CEC or even the Panel for Educational Policy. This is volunteer work.
That is correct.
So needless to say, you have to balance bringing home the bacon in some way, the advocacy, the work that you're doing here, and being a parent, and who knows whatever other hats you're wearing at the same time. How do you do it?
Well, it is a challenge, but it's also something you become passionate about. You know the possibility for change is there. It can be done, and it's about how much you can put into it. You know, respectfully, CECs do make arrangements to meet with parents when it's most convenient. So it would be after the hours that a parent would have to be at work. And in many instances, these meetings, you can either bring your child because they will have child care, or we can find other options for childcare to be done. So there are some areas where they make it very flexible for parents to get involved and be engaged in the process. And it's pretty wonderful that it's done that way.
Yeah, I would imagine it's very helpful where it's done, and where it's not done, it needs to be done.
That's correct.
Yeah. 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 How about you, Deborah? How do you balance this?
You know, you just take each day as it comes, and you know, you set your priorities for the day, and off you go. You know, I will say I have an advantage that I have more flexibility in time, and I've chosen to use my time towards education. So, you know, I'll be honest in saying not all parents can do what I do. And I see it as an opportunity to affect children's lives. I think we have such great resources in New York that we need to take advantage of, and learning to collaborate and coordinate. That's really what we all do on a day-to-day basis. And, you know, things that you would think everybody is aware of, they're not. So a lot of what we do is spend time talking about issues and enlightening each other, and then working through the various issues. You know, like I said before, you know, I didn't start out to be an advocate. And just to be clear, our role on PP is not as advocate. Our role is different, but our role as either PTA presidents or President's Council of Presidents or on the CEC is truly advocacy for children. And the balancing just happens. Sure, I'll be honest. I have 3 kids I have 2 in Manhattan and 1 in Long Island City, and when it's a parent-teacher night, I can't be in 3 places at once. So I have to coordinate the second part of my life in order to do something else. So it's difficult, but well worth it. We're helping kids.
Yes, and for all the parents who cannot because of their circumstances and et cetera, we have 1.3, is it 1.1 million? 1.1 million students in the New York City school district sum total. So there are a lot of people there that are benefiting from the efforts that are being put out, not only by you two, but by everyone else that's doing this kind of work. So I want to thank you for that so much, and hope you continue doing the fine job that you're doing. Elzora Cleveland and Deborah Dillingham, nice to have you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. So I would like to draw your attention to an application that our attention was drawn to, and we have found it to be helpful for us. It's called DragonBox. It's a math tutorial type program, but it doesn't just teach, it teaches through gaming. There are 2 separate versions, one for children 5 and older and 12 and older. And the concept of DragonBox is that they slowly use gaming to teach advanced algebraic concepts to your child, so that after working with it for a time, they're actually solving equations that they had not yet seen in school and might not see for another 3 or 4 years. It's been helpful to us, and we'd like to see how it works for you. You can come to our Facebook page and tell us what you think of it, your experiences with it, however it works out for you. Please let us know. We'd love to hear from you.